Greetings and welcome back to room 303 in our chats with Emily, as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson contained in the Johnson edition. We turn now to poem 516, Beauty Be Not Caused, It Is. Now, again, we're back to, of course, our study of John Keats and Ode on a Grecian Urn. As well, I think we're back to poem 449. You guys remember when we played the game with this one? I died for beauty, but was scarce adjusted in the tomb when one who died for truth was lain in an adjoining room. He questioned softly, why I failed? For beauty, I replied, and I for truth. Themselves are one, we brethren are, he said. And so, as kinsmen met a night, we talked between the rooms until the moss had reached our lips and covered up our names. As we commented on when we studied that poem, and our assumptions are that you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net down that left-hand side, chats with Emily, our playlist. I'm hopeful that you worked through our set of introductory comments. I'm as well hopeful that you've already read our previous 515 poems. We just finished with 515, no crowd that has occurred. And you'll remember from our study of 449, we commented on the influence of John Keats on Emily and her aesthetic theory. And as well, I want you to notice in this poem the referencing to you. We called our series Chats with Emily because Emily, it seems to me, is engaging in a conversation with each of us. She calls it her letter to the world. Judge tenderly of me, she says. But here, she's speaking almost directly to you, and she asks about beauty. And this is what she says. Beauty be not caused. It is. Chase it, and it ceases. Chase it not, and it abides. Overtake the creases in the meadow when the wind runs his fingers through it. Deity will see to it that you never do it. Now, again, Emily, like Dante, is the greatest of universal poets and the greatest of individual poets. She'll bring the scope, the fixture, the aperture down right to a very personal, natural kind of phenomenon, the wind blowing through the grass. But she'll begin with the concept of beauty. And we cannot help but think that Emily was a contemporary of Ralph Waldo Emerson, who of course had a lot to say on the topic of beauty, especially in his classic essay, Nature, and of course influenced heavily by his study of who? Plato, right? And so here we are with this concept of beauty. Beauty, notice the dash, be not caused, the dash, it is. Now, of course, right away, wait a minute, one could ask, is not duty or deity or God responsible for the creation of beauty? And I think Emily knows that we're going to come there. Emily, the philosopher, knows that we're going to come there, which is why deity is how this poem ends. Beauty be not caused. And then she simply says, it, notice capitalized I, it, notice it is, notice capitalized I on both of these, it is. And it's almost like Emily is challenging that Exodus 3:14, I am that I am. Notice, beauty isn't caused, it just is. Beauty just exists. Then, chase it, and it ceases. Chase it not, and it abides. Now, some of us will ask, why did she use the conjunction and? Why not just chase it, dash, it ceases. Chase it not, dash, it abides. And some readers have said, that would tighten up this poem even more. I think Emily's interested, though, in the language of this poem and the rhythm of this poem. So she says, if you chase beauty, it immediately seems to stop. When you don't chase it, then it does abide. And then she gives a word picture, as she so regularly does. She'll give a word picture to explain the very thing she's talking about. For example, the wind blowing through the meadow, through the grass. Overtake the creases in the meadow when the wind runs his fingers through it. It's a brilliant word picture, right? The personification here. Deity will see to it that you never do it. In other words, you can try, and this is our message at 2A, you can try to create beauty, she's arguing, but you're going to fail every time. Why? Because beauty is. Art is the discovering of beauty, not its creation. One scholar has pointed it out this way, if you pursue beauty with conscious intent, it will vanish. It can't be in any way chased, it can only be appreciated. At 2B, I love the syntax of be not, and again, the use of her ands here. At 3A, obviously, Keats's Ode on a Grecian Urn, beauty is truth, truth, beauty, right? We've given full lectures on that offering at learnstrong.net. Finally, at 3B, how do you own a poem like this? Do you think it's true that you can chase beauty? And in some ways, is that what we're doing here in our study as we are trying to at least appreciate, if not chase, the amazing beauty of Emily's stuff? Thank you.